How many times have you let your past define your future? How many days have you spent replaying old mistakes, reliving regrets, carrying burdens that were never meant to stay with you? Maybe it was something you did, something you said, or maybe something that was done to you. And somewhere along the way, you convinced yourself that your past had the final say, that your failures, your missteps, your disappointments had already written your story. But what if that wasn't true? What if everything you've been through wasn't meant to hold you back, but to prepare you? What if the only thing keeping you from the life you want isn't your past at all, but your refusal to let go of it? The truth is, the past has nothing new to offer you. It's already been lived. It's already been decided. And no matter how many times you revisit it, no matter how much you try to rewrite it in your mind, it won't change. But your future, that's still waiting to be written. Right now, whether you realize it or not, you are standing at a crossroads. You can keep looking back, dragging old pain into new opportunities, letting yesterday's failures dictate today's decisions. Or you can choose to turn around, to face forward, to finally step into the life that has been waiting for you all along. Because your future doesn't need your regrets. It doesn't need your guilt, your shame, your what-ifs. It needs you fully present, fully engaged, ready to build, to create, to move forward. Because that's the real challenge, isn't it? Not just saying you're ready for change, but actually doing the work to release what no longer serves you, to stop defining yourself by who you used to be and start stepping into who you are meant to become, to stop letting fear and hesitation keep you in the same cycle you've been trapped in for far too long. The past will always try to pull you back. It will always whisper that you're not good enough, not ready enough, not strong enough. But your future is calling, and it's saying something different. It's saying you are ready. You are capable. You are more than your mistakes, more than your failures, more than the moments that tried to break you. So what will it be? Will you let the past keep its grip on you? Or will you finally take the first step towards something greater? Subscribe to never miss books like this one. Chapter 1. The weight of yesterday. How much of your life have you spent looking back? How many moments, opportunities, and new beginnings have passed you by because you were too focused on what's behind you? Maybe it was a mistake that still haunts you, a failure that made you question yourself, or a person who left scars you can't seem to heal from. Whatever it is, the weight of yesterday is still pressing down on you, making every step forward feel impossible. But here's something you may not have considered. It was never yours to carry forever. We grow up believing that the past defines us, that our mistakes shape our identity, that our worst moments somehow determine what we deserve, and so we hold on to it all. Our regrets, our pain, our shame, thinking that if we just keep analyzing it, keep replaying it, we might somehow make sense of it. Maybe we think we'll fix it, rewrite it, or at the very least find some meaning in it. But the past doesn't offer solutions. It only repeats what has already happened. And every time you choose to stay there, you rob yourself of what's ahead. Think about it. How many times have you hesitated to take a risk because of something that went wrong before? How many times have you let fear of past mistakes keep you from pursuing something new? How many times have you let one bad chapter convince you the entire book is ruined? It's time to ask yourself, why are you still carrying it? What are you holding on to that no longer serves you? Is it a version of yourself that no longer exists? A moment where you failed and never forgave yourself? A person who hurt you so deeply that you're still defining your life through the pain they caused? Carrying the past doesn't change it. It doesn't undo the hurt. It doesn't erase the mistakes. The only thing it does is make the future harder to reach. Right now, you have a choice. You can keep dragging yesterday's weight into today, or you can put it down. You can decide in this very moment that your past will no longer define your future, that your mistakes don't get the final say, that what happened before is not more powerful than what happens next. And I know letting go isn't easy. It takes work. It takes unlearning patterns you've carried for years. It takes accepting that some things can't be changed, but your future can be. But here's the truth. Your future needs you. It needs your energy, your focus, your belief in what's possible. And the only way to give it what it needs is to stop giving your past more than it deserves. This is the first step. A moment of clarity. A moment of release. A moment where you decide that whatever has been holding you back no longer gets to control you. Are you ready? Because your future is. Now, let's begin. Chapter 2. Breaking free from old narratives. What if the story you've been telling yourself about your life isn't true? Think about it. Every single day, you live according to a narrative, a script that plays in your mind, shaping your decisions, your beliefs, your sense of worth. And for so many of us, that script is written by our past. By old wounds, by the voices of people who doubted us, by failures that made us feel small. Maybe you've told yourself that you'll never be successful because you failed before. Maybe you believe you don't deserve happiness because of mistakes you've made. Maybe you've convinced yourself that love isn't for you, that you're broken, that you'll always be struggling, always be stuck. But let me ask you this. Who gave you that script? And why are you still following it? Most of the stories we tell ourselves aren't even ours. They come from experiences, from childhood, from relationships that left us hurt, from society telling us who we should be. And without realizing it, we start living inside those stories. We start believing that the way things have been is the way they will always be. But that is a lie. Your past may have shaped you, but it does not own you. And just because something was true for you yesterday doesn't mean it has to be true tomorrow. Right now, you have the power to break free, to step outside of the narrative that has kept you small, to stop letting old wounds write your future. But first, you have to recognize what's been holding you back. So I want you to ask yourself, what's the story you've been living? Have you been playing the role of the person who never gets ahead? The one who always messes up? The one who's never enough? Have you been reliving the same patterns, the same disappointments, because deep down, you've accepted them as part of who you are? If so, it's time to rewrite the script. Your mind is powerful. The things you tell yourself, the words you repeat, they shape your reality. And if you keep telling yourself, you're not good enough, that's exactly what you'll believe. If you keep saying you're unlucky, undeserving, incapable, that's exactly what you'll become. But if you change the narrative, if you start telling yourself something different, that changes everything. So here's what I want you to do. Start catching those old thoughts, those old beliefs when they show up. When your mind tells you, I'll never be successful, stop and say, that's not true. I'm learning, growing, and capable of success. When it whispers, I always mess things up, replace it with, I'm improving every day. When it tells you, I don't deserve good things, remind yourself, I am worthy of happiness and growth. Because here's the truth. You don't have to be the person your past says you are. You don't have to live inside the limits of an old story. You get to decide right now who you are becoming, and your future, it's waiting for the version of you who finally believes in something better. So break the cycle, change the narrative. Step into the story you were meant to live. Let's move forward. Chapter 3, The Power of Choice. Right now, in this very moment, you are making a choice. Maybe you don't realize it, but every second of your life is shaped by decisions. Some big, some small, and for too long, you've been making choices without even knowing it. You've been choosing to hold on to the past, choosing to believe the same old story, choosing to let fear, doubt, and regret keep you from moving forward. But what if I told you that changing your life isn't about luck, talent, or waiting for the perfect moment? What if I told you that it all comes down to one thing, what you choose next? Because here's the truth. Your future isn't something that just happens to you. It's something you create. And every single day, you are either choosing a future that pulls you forward or a past that holds you back. So let me ask you, what are you choosing? Are you choosing to wake up and believe in yourself, even when it's hard? Are you choosing to take action toward your goals, even when you don't feel ready? Or are you choosing to stay stuck in the same place, repeating the same patterns, telling yourself the same excuses? Most people don't even realize they have a choice. They think they're trapped by their circumstances, by their past, by the things they can't control. But the moment you understand that you do have a choice, that you always have, the game changes. Because when you realize that you are in control, that you have the power to decide how your life unfolds, suddenly the excuses don't hold as much weight. Suddenly, the reasons you've been telling yourself for why you can't move forward start to crumble. You don't have to wait for permission to change your life. You don't have to wait for the right moment. You don't have to wait until you feel ready. You just have to choose. So what choice are you going to make today? Are you going to keep living as the person your past shaped you? Are you going to choose comfort, or are you going to choose growth? Are you going to choose to stay the same, or are you going to choose to rise? Your future is built one decision at a time, and the most powerful decision you can make is to stop waiting. Stop hesitating and start acting like the person you were meant to become. Because your past doesn't need you, but your future does. And it's waiting for your next choice. So what's it going to be? Chapter 4. Shame, guilt, and the lies we believe. Shame is a heavy chain. It wraps itself around you, tightening with every mistake, every regret, every moment you wish you could undo. It whispers in your ear, reminding you of all the reasons you're unworthy, undeserving, broken. It doesn't just remind you of what happened. It convinces you that you are what happened, that you are your worst decisions. But that's a lie. Guilt and shame are not the same thing. Guilt says, I did something wrong. Shame says, I am something wrong. And when you let shame take hold, it doesn't just make you feel bad about what you've done. It makes you bad. That you are damaged, beyond repair, incapable of change. And that's exactly why so many people stay stuck. Not because they aren't capable of growth, but because they don't believe they deserve it. So let's get one thing clear right now. You are not your past. You are not your worst moment. You are not defined by the things you regret. Yes, maybe you made mistakes. Maybe you hurt people. Maybe you failed over and over again. But tell me, who hasn't? Who walks through this life without messing up, without falling, without struggling to find their way? What matters is not what you've done, but what you do next. And the first step is this. Stop believing the lies shame has been telling you. Stop believing that you are unworthy of a fresh start. Stop believing that your past mistakes mean you don't deserve a future. If you're still here, if you're still breathing, then you still have the power to rewrite your story. But you can't do that if you're carrying shame like a badge, if you're wearing your past like a prison sentence. So let's leave it behind. Let's stop feeding the voice that tells you you'll never be more than your mistakes. Let's start believing something different, something true. Because the future doesn't ask who you used to be. It only asks who you're willing to become. Chapter 5. Healing from the inside out. Healing isn't something you can rush. It isn't about erasing the past, ignoring the pain, or pretending everything is fine when it's not. Healing is a process. It's about giving yourself permission to feel everything you've been suppressing, and then slowly, intentionally, letting go of what no longer serves you. You've been through things. We all have. Things that broke you. Things that made you question who you were. Things that left you feeling less than whole. And while the scars may not always show, they're there. But here's the thing. Those scars don't define you. They are not permanent marks on your soul. They are reminders of your strength, of your ability to survive. And even though you may feel like something is missing, that part of you that feels broken, empty, or lost, that's where your healing begins. Healing starts from the inside out. It starts by confronting what you've been avoiding. It starts with acknowledging the hurt, the pain, the loss, and then choosing to release it. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, patience, and an unwavering belief that you are worth the effort. You don't have to heal all at once. In fact, you can't. But what you can do is take small steps every day. You can begin by forgiving yourself, not just for the things you've done, but for the things you've done, but for the things you didn't know better, for the times you tried your best and still fell short, for the moments you let fear guide you. Forgiveness isn't about excusing what happened. It's about freeing yourself from the power it still holds over you. Next, you begin to release the anger, the resentment, the regret. They may feel justified, like old friends that have been with you for so long, but they're not serving you. They're holding you back. They are weights that keep you tethered to a past that is no longer yours. And then You start to rebuild. You start to nourish your mind, body, and soul. You start to believe that you can become whole again, that even though you've been hurt, you are not defined by your pain. Because healing isn't about perfection. It's about progress. It's about getting better each day, in small ways, until one day you realize you've come a lot farther than you ever thought possible. The more you heal from the inside out, the more you'll discover that your past no longer holds power over you. And as you shed those layers of hurt, resentment, and fear, you'll begin to see the world and yourself in a completely different way. So don't rush it. Don't force it. Just start. One small step, one moment of forgiveness, one decision to release the past. And let yourself heal. Chapter 6. Fear of the unknown. There's something almost comforting about the known, even when it's painful. The past, as much as it holds you back, is familiar. You know it. You know the mistakes you've made, the battles you've fought, the ways in which you've been hurt. Even if it's all been a struggle, it feels like a story you can follow. But the unknown, that's terrifying. It's the place where anything can happen, where nothing is guaranteed, and where every choice could lead to something different. It's the place where we lose control. And for many of us, losing control is one of the scariest things imaginable. So, instead of stepping into the unknown, we stay where we are. We cling to the past, to the patterns we know, to the habits that have kept us stuck, because at least it's familiar. But here's the truth. The unknown is where growth happens. It's easy to think that the comfortable, predictable life is the safest choice. That if you just stay within your comfort zone, you'll be okay. But staying within the same boundaries doesn't lead to fulfillment. It doesn't lead to change. It doesn't lead to the future you want. The unknown, while uncertain, is the very place where your potential lives. It's where the possibility for something bigger, better, and more aligned with your true purpose is waiting for you. It's in those moments of stepping into something unfamiliar that you truly come alive. The fear of the unknown is natural. It's human. But it doesn't have to control you. It doesn't have to keep you stuck. Because every time you choose to face the unknown instead of running from it, you are choosing to grow. And what's the alternative? To keep living the same life over and over again, stuck in a loop of past mistakes and missed opportunities. You can't move forward if you're still letting fear dictate every decision. You can't step into your future if you're too afraid of what might happen next. The unknown will always feel a little scary. That's part of what makes it so powerful. But once you realize that the unknown isn't a place to fear, but a place to explore, everything changes. So take that step. Step into the unknown, let go of the past, and trust that whatever comes next will lead you exactly where you're meant to be. The fear won't go away immediately, but with each step forward, you'll realize that the unknown isn't as scary as you thought. It's the very thing that will set you free. Chapter 7. Rebuilding confidence. Confidence isn't something that's given to you. It's not a gift you receive or a quality you're born with. Confidence is built, piece by piece, by the decisions you make every day. It's the result of facing your fears, overcoming self-doubt, and proving to yourself that you're capable of much more than you realize. But here's the thing about confidence. It's fragile. It can be shattered in an instant by a single mistake, a harsh word, a failure that stings. And when that happens, it's easy to think you'll never get it back. You start to wonder if it's even worth trying to rebuild. But rebuilding confidence is exactly what you need to do. And it begins with the simple act of showing up for yourself. Every time you take a step forward, no matter how small, you prove to yourself that you're capable. Every time you push past your comfort zone, even when you're scared, you reinforce the belief that you can handle whatever comes your way. You see, confidence is not about being perfect. It's about being willing to try, even when you're uncertain. It's about taking action despite the fear, trusting that every step you take is one step closer to the person you want to become. So how do you rebuild your confidence after it's been knocked down? Start small. Start with the things you know you can do. Accomplish little goals, celebrate those wins, and use them as proof that you are capable. You don't have to do everything all at once, but each small victory will gradually build up your belief in yourself. And stop comparing your journey to anyone else. Confidence isn't about competing with others. It's about honoring your own growth. Every person's path is different, and just because someone else seems to be ahead doesn't mean you're falling behind. Don't wait for the perfect moment to feel confident. Confidence doesn't come from waiting. It comes from action. The more you do, the more you prove to yourself that you're worthy, that you're strong, and that you're enough. And when you inevitably fall, when you make a mistake or face a setback, that's not a sign that you've failed. That's a part of the process. Confidence isn't about never failing. It's about knowing you'll rise again. It's about being resilient, understanding that each setback is just a lesson in disguise. You are worthy of confidence. You are capable of rebuilding it, no matter how far you've fallen. Every step you take toward growth, every time you choose to face the challenges ahead, you're reinforcing your own strength. So trust yourself. Trust that you have the power to rebuild. The confidence you're seeking is already inside you. It's just waiting for you to claim it. Chapter 8, Letting Go of Perfection. Perfection is a myth. It's an ideal that keeps you chasing something you can never catch, always striving for an impossible standard, always feeling like you're falling short. And yet, for so many of us, perfection is the goal we chase. We think that if we get everything right, if we do everything perfectly, we'll finally be worthy, successful, and happy. But what if I told you that perfection is the very thing that's holding you back? Striving for perfection is exhausting. It keeps you in a constant state of dissatisfaction, because no matter how much you achieve, you never feel good enough. You're always looking for the next thing to improve, the next mistake to fix, the next area to perfect. And as long as you keep chasing that elusive perfection, you'll never truly be able to embrace your progress or celebrate how far you've come. Letting go of perfection isn't about settling for less. It's about embracing progress over perfection. It's about understanding that growth is messy and that mistakes are part of the journey. It's about realizing that the pursuit of perfection often keeps you from being fully present, from taking risks, and from truly enjoying the process. Perfectionism creates a fear of failure. It convinces you that if something isn't perfect, it's not worth doing. But that fear paralyzes you. It keeps you from taking action, from trying new things, and from stepping out of your comfort zone. And all the while, it keeps you stuck in a cycle of self-criticism, where nothing is ever good enough. But here's the truth. Imperfection is where the magic happens. It's in the messy moments that you learn. It's in the mistakes that you grow. It's in the failure that you find your strength. If you wait for everything to be perfect before you take action, you'll never move. You'll never make progress. So let go of perfection. Let go of the need to be flawless. Embrace the mess. Embrace the imperfections, because they are what make you real, make you human. You don't need to be perfect to be worthy. You don't need to do everything right to make a difference. All you need is to show up, try your best, and keep going. Because at the end of the day, it's not perfection that leads to success. It's persistence. Let go of the need to be perfect and start being real. Chapter 9. Embracing Change. Change is one of the few constants in life, and yet it's one of the things we fear most. We fear it because it forces us to step out of the familiar. It challenges the status quo. It requires us to leave behind what we know, and sometimes what feels safe, even if what's safe is holding us back. We resist change because it feels like we're losing control, like we're moving into the unknown, and that's scary. But what if I told you that without change there is no growth? You can't expect to evolve if you're unwilling to let go of what no longer serves you. You can't move forward if you're constantly clinging to what's comfortable. Change is the bridge between who you are now and who you're meant to become. It's the very thing that opens up new possibilities, new opportunities, and new experiences. The discomfort of change isn't a sign that you shouldn't move forward. It's a sign that you're on the right path. If you're comfortable all the time, if everything stays the same, you're not growing. You're staying stuck. And even though it might feel easier, staying stuck in a place that no longer fits you is actually much harder in the long run. Change may bring uncertainty, but it also brings freedom. It's the chance to reinvent yourself, to leave behind the things that limit you, to break free from the old patterns that no longer serve you. It's the chance to step into the life you've always wanted, but haven't yet dared to live. Yes, change is difficult. It's unsettling. But it's also where all the magic happens. It's where you discover new strengths, new passions, new parts of yourself you didn't know existed. And while it might feel like you're losing something, the truth is that you're gaining so much more. So, instead of fighting change, start embracing it. Lean into it. Recognize that change is an opportunity, not a threat. It's an invitation to become the person you're meant to be, to expand your horizons, to step into your full potential. The more you embrace change, the more you'll realize that it's not something to fear. It's the very thing that will help you create the future you've always dreamed of. So let go of your resistance and allow yourself to change, because your future needs you to be different than you are today. Chapter 10. The strength of vulnerability. Vulnerability is often seen as a weakness. We've been taught to hide our flaws, to put up walls, to wear masks that make us seem stronger, more put together. We think that if we let people see our weaknesses, they'll see us as fragile, broken, or incapable. But what if I told you that vulnerability is actually the source of your greatest strength? Vulnerability isn't about being weak. It's about being brave enough to show up as your true, unguarded self. It's about letting go of the fear that others will judge you for your flaws, and instead embracing your imperfections as a part of your journey. It's about owning your story, no matter how messy or complicated it may be, and knowing that it's okay to not have it all figured out. Being vulnerable means allowing yourself to feel, to experience the full range of emotions, even the difficult ones. It means acknowledging your pain, your fears, your doubts, and your insecurities without hiding. And in doing so, you allow yourself to heal, to grow, and to connect with others on a deeper level. When you hide behind walls, you may protect yourself from judgment, but you also isolate yourself from the connection and intimacy you truly crave. Because the truth is, everyone has their own struggles. Everyone is carrying something, even if it's not visible on the surface. And when you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you give others the permission to do the same. Vulnerability is what creates authentic relationships. It's what allows you to share your true self with others without the fear of being rejected. And in turn, it invites people to show up for you, to support you, and to connect with you in a way that goes beyond surface-level interactions. Pretending to have it all together. Stop hiding your feelings and your struggles. Because the truth is, vulnerability is what makes you human. And that's where your true power lies. When you embrace vulnerability, you embrace growth. You embrace the opportunity to become your most authentic self. You embrace the strength that comes from being brave enough to show up, raw and real. And that's where transformation begins. Chapter 11. The value of patience in a world that thrives on instant gratification. Patience has become a lost art. We've been conditioned to expect everything quickly. The fast internet connection, the immediate response, the instant success. We want results right now. And we want them without the struggle, without the waiting, without the uncertainty. But here's the truth. It's about trusting the process, even when things seem slow, even when progress feels invisible. It's about having faith that the seeds you plant today will eventually bloom into something beautiful, even if you can't see them growing beneath the surface. We live in a culture that glorifies speed. Everything is about getting to the destination as quickly as possible. But true fulfillment comes not from rushing through life, but from embracing the journey, the challenges, the setbacks, the moments of doubt. They're all part of the process. And if you try to bypass them, you'll miss out on the lessons that are essential to your growth. Patience is about knowing that you are exactly where you need to be, even if it doesn't feel like it. It's about trusting that each step forward, no matter how small, is leading you closer to your goal. And it's about accepting that you don't need to have all the answers right now. You don't need to rush toward the finish line. You need to focus on taking one step at a time. And here's the thing. The more patient you are with yourself, the more you'll realize that the process is just as important as the end result. In fact, sometimes it's the waiting, the learning, and the growing that gives your success the meaning and depth it deserves. So when things don't happen as quickly as you want them to, don't feel like you're falling behind. Don't feel like you're falling behind. Take a deep breath. Trust that things are unfolding exactly as they should. And remember that patience is not the same as passivity. You can keep working, keep growing, and keep moving forward, even if it takes time. The greatest rewards often come to those who are willing to wait for them, and that includes you. So trust in the timing of your life. Be patient with yourself, and allow the process to shape you into the person you're meant to become. Chapter 12. We all have an inner voice, one that echoes the judgment and expectations of others. It tells you when you've messed up, when you've fallen short, when you're not good enough. And it's easy to believe that voice, to let it dictate your self-worth and make you feel like you're constantly failing. But here's the truth. You deserve to be kinder to yourself. Self-compassion isn't about ignoring your mistakes or excusing your behavior. It's about treating yourself with the same kindness, patience, and understanding that you would offer to a loved one. It's about recognizing that you're human, that you will falter, and that it's okay to not be perfect. It's about embracing the idea that your value doesn't depend on your achievements or your ability to meet impossible standards. When you practice self-compassion, you stop beating yourself up for every misstep. You stop holding yourself to unrealistic expectations, and you give yourself permission to be imperfect. Because the truth is, you don't need to be flawless to be worthy of love and respect, especially from yourself. Self-compassion is also about giving yourself space to heal, to grow, and to take care of your emotional well-being. It means acknowledging when you're struggling and allowing yourself the time and care you need to process what's happening. You wouldn't tell a friend to just get over it when they're going through something difficult. So why would you tell yourself that? You deserve to honor your emotions and give yourself the same grace that you'd extend to others. That means speaking kindly to yourself, being patient with your growth, and letting go of the guilt or shame that weighs you down. And here's something important. Self-compassion isn't selfish. It's necessary. When you learn to treat yourself with love and care, you're better equipped to show up for the people around you. You're able to give from a place of abundance, not exhaustion. You're able to extend the same kindness to others because you've learned how to give it to yourself first. So when you make mistakes, when you fall short, when you feel like you're not enough, be gentle with yourself. Recognize that you're doing the best you can, and that's enough. Your mistakes don't define you, and your growth is a lifelong journey. It's time to let go of the negative self-talk and embrace the power of self-compassion. You are worthy of love, kindness, and understanding, especially from yourself. Chapter 13. The importance of boundaries are essential for living a healthy, balanced life. They define the space between you and the world around you. They set limits on what is acceptable behavior, how you allow others to treat you, and what you're willing to tolerate. And yet so many of us struggle with setting boundaries. We fear that we'll disappoint others, that we'll come across as selfish, or that we'll be rejected if we say no. But here's the truth. Setting boundaries is not about being rude or unkind. It's about protecting your well-being. When you fail to set boundaries, you risk losing yourself in the process. You risk becoming so consumed with meeting others' needs that you forget to take care of your own. You become overextended, exhausted, and eventually resentful. Boundaries are not just about saying no to others. They're about saying yes to yourself. They're about honoring your time, your energy, and your emotional capacity. They're about recognizing that you can't pour from an empty cup, and that in order to give to others, you must first give to yourself. Setting boundaries means being clear about what you need in relationships, at work, and in your personal life. It means knowing when to say no to things that drain you, and when to say yes to things that nourish you. It means not being afraid to speak up when something feels wrong, or when you're being asked to take on too much. It's important to remember that boundaries are not meant to keep people out. They're meant to create healthy space. They help build mutual respect, allowing both you and others to thrive in relationships, work environments, and personal connections. But setting boundaries isn't always easy. It can be uncomfortable, especially if you've spent your life people-pleasing or trying to avoid conflict. But the more you practice, the easier it becomes. You don't need to feel guilty for taking care of yourself, and you don't need to apologize for prioritizing your own needs. If you struggle with setting boundaries, Start small. Begin by saying no to things that don't align with your values or drain your energy. Stand firm when someone pushes your limits, and trust that you have the right to protect your peace. Remember, healthy boundaries are an act of self-respect. You do deserve to have your needs met, to feel safe, and to be treated with dignity. When you learn to set and enforce your boundaries, you reclaim your power and begin to create the life you deserve. So don't be afraid to set boundaries. It's not selfish, it's necessary. Protect your space, protect your peace, and watch how your life begins to transform. Chapter 14. Trusting your intuition. We all have an inner voice. It's that quiet whisper that nudges us in one direction or another, often when we're at a crossroads or facing a difficult decision. It's the voice that feels instinctual, almost as if it's coming from somewhere deep inside of us, a place we sometimes don't fully understand. It's our intuition, the ability to know something without needing logical evidence or reasoning. But how often do you listen to it? In a world that prioritizes logic and rational thinking, we've been conditioned to dismiss our gut feelings. We're told to think things through, to rely on facts, figures, and reason. And while those things have their place, they can sometimes drown out the powerful wisdom that our intuition holds. Trusting your intuition is about reconnecting with that inner voice, the part of you that knows what's right, even when it doesn't make sense to anyone else, including yourself. It's the part of you that can sense danger before it's visible, that knows when something isn't quite right, and that can guide you in making choices that align with your deepest values. But trusting your intuition requires vulnerability. It requires you to step away from the safety of external validation and the need for approval. It means embracing the uncertainty of not always knowing why you feel the way you do, or why a certain path seems to call to you. It requires faith in yourself, faith in your own ability to make the right decisions, and faith that even when you can't see the whole picture, you are being guided toward what is best for you. The challenge, though, is that intuition doesn't always speak loudly. It often comes as a quiet whisper, a feeling in the pit of your stomach, a thought that seems to arise from nowhere. It's easy to dismiss, to second guess, to try and explain it away with logic. But when you listen, when you lean into that inner knowing, it has the power to guide you through life's toughest moments. So how do you begin trusting your intuition more? Start by paying attention to it. Start by recognizing those gut feelings, those quiet nudges, and giving them space to exist without judgment. When making decisions, check in with how you feel, not just what you think. Trusting your intuition also means being willing to act on it. When you feel that inner guidance, don't hesitate. Trust that it's leading you somewhere important, even if you can't see the entire path ahead. The more you listen and trust, the stronger that inner voice becomes. Ultimately, trusting your intuition is about trusting yourself. It's about honoring the wisdom that lies within you, knowing that you are capable of navigating life's challenges with grace and clarity. So, start listening. Trust the whispers, and let your intuition be the guide that leads you toward the life you're meant to live. Chapter 15. The freedom of letting go. How often do you hold on to things that no longer serve you? We accumulate so much throughout our lives, beliefs, possessions, habits, relationships, that we sometimes forget what's essential. We get attached to things, to outcomes, to ways of thinking simply because they've been with us for so long. But here's the truth. Letting go isn't just about removing things from your life. It's about making room for what truly matters. Letting go can feel like a loss, but it's actually one of the most freeing actions you can take. We often resist change because it means letting go of something familiar, something comfortable. Even if it's holding us back, whether it's a toxic relationship, an outdated belief system, or an unfulfilling job, we fear the unknown more than we fear staying in our discomfort. But when we hold on to these things, we stay stuck. We keep dragging around emotional baggage, clinging to things that weigh us down and prevent us from moving forward. Letting go isn't easy. It requires you to confront the parts of your life that you've been avoiding, the parts that no longer align with who you are or who you're becoming. It requires courage. Courage to release what's familiar, courage to step into the unknown, and courage to trust that something better is on the horizon. But the moment you decide to let go, you make space for new possibility. You give yourself the opportunity to grow, to evolve, and to create a life that reflects your true self. When you let go of old stories, limiting beliefs, and unhealthy attachments, you free yourself from the past. Letting go is an act of self-love. It's a recognition that you are worthy of more peace, more joy, more abundance. You deserve a life that is not weighed down by the past, but one that is driven by possibility. The freedom of letting go comes when you realize that you don't need to carry everything with you. You don't need to hold on to the past to move forward. In fact, sometimes the best way to move forward is to release what no longer serves you. Let go of the people who drain you. Let go of the things that no longer bring you joy. And in doing so, let yourself breathe deeply, live freely, and embrace the limitless possibilities that await you. The freedom you seek is already within you. It's time to release what's holding you back and claim the life you deserve. Chapter 16. The power of gratitude. Gratitude is more than just a feel-good practice. It's a transformative force that has the power to change your life. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to get caught up in what's wrong, what's missing, or what's not going well. We focus on the gaps, the problems, and the things we don't have, and in doing so, we forget about all the things we do have. We overlook the blessings that are already present, right in front of us. Gratitude shifts that perspective. When you actively choose to focus on what you're grateful for, you change your energy. You move from a mindset of lack to a mindset of abundance. You shift your focus from what's wrong to what's right, and in doing so, you create more of what you want in your life. Gratitude is not about ignoring the struggles or pretending that life is perfect. It's about acknowledging that, even in difficult times, there are things to be thankful for. It's about recognizing the small moments of beauty, the unexpected blessings, and the lessons that come from challenges. When you cultivate gratitude, you begin to see the good in everything. The power of gratitude lies in its ability to rewire your brain. Research shows that when you practice gratitude, your brain releases feel-good chemicals like dopamine and serotonin. These chemicals improve your mood, reduce stress, and increase your overall sense of well-being. And the more you practice gratitude, the more these positive changes become ingrained in your daily life. But gratitude isn't just about what you feel. It's also about what you do. When you express your gratitude, whether through words or actions, you invite more of it into your life. You not only appreciate the people and experiences that have shaped you, but you also open yourself up to receiving even more. Gratitude also has a ripple effect. When you practice gratitude, you inspire those around you to do the same. Your positivity and appreciation become contagious, creating an environment where kindness, love, and abundance can flourish. So start each day by listing a few things you're grateful for. They don't have to be big things. They can be as simple as a warm cup of coffee, a kind word from a friend, or the beauty of the sunrise. Notice the little things that make your life richer, and let them fill you with appreciation. When life feels challenging or overwhelming, come back to gratitude. When you focus on what you have rather than what you don't, you'll begin to see how much is already working in your favor. Gratitude is a practice, a choice, and a powerful tool for creating the life you want. So choose to embrace it. Let it be the lens through which you see the world, and watch how everything begins to shift. Chapter 17. Embracing change. Change is inevitable. No matter how much we try to resist it, life has a way of moving forward. We find ourselves faced with new situations, new opportunities, new challenges. Change can be daunting, uncomfortable, and at times overwhelming. It pushes us out of our comfort zones and forces us to adapt, grow, and evolve. But here's the truth. Without change, there is no growth. Embracing change is not about blindly accepting everything that comes your way. It's about recognizing that change is a part of life's natural flow, and that, while it may be unsettling, it carries the potential for transformation. Every change, whether big or small, offers an opportunity for learning, self-discovery, and reinvention. One of the most difficult aspects of change is the uncertainty it brings. When we don't know what's next, it's easy to become fearful or anxious. We want control, we want security, and we want answers. But the reality is, the future is always uncertain. The key is to embrace that uncertainty and trust that change will bring you to where you need to be. When you resist change, you keep yourself stuck. You cling to what is familiar, even if it no longer serves you. You miss out on the opportunities that change brings, and you prevent yourself from evolving into the person you're meant to become. But when you choose to embrace change, you choose growth. You open yourself up to new possibilities, new perspectives, and new ways of being. You allow yourself the freedom to try new things, to take risks, and to learn from the experience. Embracing change also means letting go of the past. It's about releasing old habits, outdated beliefs, and limiting ideas that no longer fit with who you are or where you're going. When you hold on to the past, you prevent yourself from moving forward. But when you embrace the present and the future, you create space for new experiences to come into your life. It's important to remember that change doesn't always have to be dramatic or disruptive. Sometimes the smallest changes, like shifting your mindset or stepping out of your comfort zone, can lead to the biggest transformations. Every step forward, no matter how small, is progress. So, the next time you face a change, instead of fearing it, embrace it. Trust that change is a part of your journey, and that it's leading you toward a greater version of yourself. Change may be uncomfortable, but it's also a powerful catalyst for growth. When you embrace it, you'll find that it's not something to be feared, but something to be celebrated. Embrace the unknown, and allow it to guide you toward the future you're meant to create. Chapter 18. The strength in vulnerability. Vulnerability is often seen as a weakness, a flaw that leaves us exposed and at risk. We've been conditioned to hide our struggles, to put on a brave face, and to show only the parts of ourselves that are polished, perfect, and acceptable. We fear being judged, rejected, or misunderstood, so we build walls around our hearts, keeping our true selves hidden from the world. But here's the truth. Vulnerability is not a weakness. It's a strength. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you open the door to true connection. Vulnerability is what allows us to connect with others on a deep, authentic level. It's what makes relationships meaningful and real. When you share your struggles, your fears, your imperfections, you give others permission to do the same. You create a space where authenticity can thrive and where real, lasting bonds can be formed. Vulnerability is also a powerful tool for self-growth. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you admit that you're not perfect, and that's okay. You give yourself permission to be human, to make mistakes, and to learn from them. You stop hiding behind the facade of perfection and embrace your true self, flaws and all. But vulnerability also requires courage. It's not easy to show the parts of yourself that you've been hiding, to speak your truth when it feels uncomfortable, or to ask for help when you need it. It means letting go of the need for approval and trusting that your worth isn't determined by the opinions of others. And the more you practice vulnerability, the more you realize that it's not something to fear. It's something to embrace. Vulnerability isn't about exposing yourself to harm or allowing others to take advantage of you. It's about being honest, open, and authentic in your interactions with others. It's about showing up as you are, without the masks or pretenses. It's about trusting that, even in your rawest, most imperfect state, you are worthy of love, respect, and connection. So the next time you're faced with an opportunity to be vulnerable, take a deep breath and lean into it. Whether it's opening up to a friend, sharing your dreams and fears with someone you trust, or simply allowing yourself to be seen for who you truly are, know that there is strength in your vulnerability. It's through vulnerability that we find our true power, the power to connect, to grow, and to live authentically. So don't be afraid to show up as your true self. It's in your vulnerability that you will find the courage to be the person you are always meant to be. Chapter 19. The art of patience in a world that values speed and instant gratification. Patience is often seen as a virtue that is difficult to master. We live in an era where everything is on demand, from fast food to immediate responses in texts and emails. We're conditioned to expect quick results. We've been trained to believe that the faster we move, the more successful we'll be. But here's the truth. The most meaningful results take time. Patience isn't about sitting back and waiting for things to happen. It's about trusting the process, even when it feels like nothing is happening. It's about having faith in the journey, even when the destination seems far off or unclear. And it's about being willing to put in the hard work, even when the rewards aren't immediately visible. The art of patience is learning to sit with discomfort, to resist the urge to rush, and to trust that everything will unfold in its own time. It's knowing that growth doesn't happen overnight, and that the best things often take time to develop. Just like a plant needs time to grow, nurture, and bloom, so too does your success, your goals, and your personal development. Patience is also about being kind to yourself when things don't go as planned. It's easy to become frustrated when things aren't moving as quickly as we'd like. But impatience only breeds stress and disappointment. Instead, patience teaches you to approach challenges with calm and resilience. It allows you to keep moving forward, step by step, even when the path is unclear. When you cultivate patience, you begin to see that every moment is part of the bigger picture. You learn to savor the process, to enjoy the little wins, and to trust that every step you take is leading you closer to your goals. You begin to understand that life isn't a race, but a journey that requires you to enjoy the ride, not just the destination. So, how do you develop patience? Start by recognizing the moments when you're tempted to rush or when you feel anxious about the future. Breathe deeply and remind yourself that things take time. Trust that you are exactly where you need to be and that the efforts you're putting in will eventually pay off. Patience is also about celebrating progress, not perfection. It's acknowledging that even small steps forward are valuable, and that consistency is more important than speed. When you embrace patience, you free yourself from the pressure to be perfect and allow yourself to grow at your own pace. In a world that pushes for constant acceleration, patience allows you to slow down, take a breath, and trust in the process. It teaches you that the best things in life are worth the wait, and that everything will unfold in perfect timing. So, when you find yourself getting impatient, remember that every journey requires patience. Keep going, stay the course, and know that with time, your patience will be rewarded. Chapter 20. Living with Purpose. A life without purpose is like a ship adrift on the vast ocean, directionless, aimless, and constantly searching for meaning. We all have moments where we feel lost or uncertain about the path ahead. We might question our choices, our passions, or even our reason for being. But one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself is to live with intention and purpose. Living with purpose means waking up each day with clarity about what matters most to you. It's about aligning your actions with your values, your passions, and your deepest desires. It's about knowing that what you do and how you do it is meaningful and contributes to something greater than yourself. Purpose is the fuel that propels you forward, especially when times get tough, when life throws challenges your way. And it will. You'll have your purpose to ground you, to remind you why you're doing what you're doing, and to keep you moving even when the road seems unclear. Living with purpose also means taking the time to reflect on what truly drives you. It's easy to get caught up in external expectations, what society wants, what other people think, what you should do. But true purpose comes from within. It's a deep sense of knowing that what you're doing is aligned with who you are, what you believe, and what you want to contribute to the world. To live with purpose is to create a life that is authentic to you. It's about breaking free from the pressures of comparison and focusing on your own unique journey. When you live with purpose, you stop living for the approval of others, and you start living for yourself. But purpose doesn't always come easily. It requires self-awareness, courage, and a willingness to explore. It may involve taking risks, making tough decisions, or stepping into the unknown. But when you trust yourself and follow your heart, your purpose will become clearer. Sometimes, purpose is found in the work you do. For others, it might be found in relationships, service to others, or creative expression. Your purpose is personal, and it will evolve over time. It's not something you find in a moment of inspiration. It's something you cultivate, something you build, day by day, through the choices you make and the values you uphold. The most fulfilling lives are those lived with purpose. When you know your purpose, every decision becomes easier. Every action becomes more meaningful. And you find yourself more connected to the people, places, and things that align with who you are. So if you're feeling lost or uncertain, take a moment to reflect on what drives you. What brings you joy? What excites you? What do you want to contribute to the world? When you start with these questions, you'll begin to uncover your purpose, and you'll start living a life that truly matters. Purpose isn't a destination. It's a way of living. When you live with purpose, you not only create a meaningful life for yourself, but also inspire others to do the same. So, commit to living with intention. Let your purpose guide you, and watch as your life transforms into something extraordinary.